Welcome back to Inside City Hall. The fight for control of the U.S. Senate will be a pivotal one this summer and fall, especially with issues like immigration and the Supreme Court hanging in the balance. We've got one of those races here in New York. Democrat Kirsten Gillibrand is facing a challenge from first-time candidate Chele Farley. She's an investment banker and a former fundraising chair for the state Republican Party. The Republican candidate joins me now to talk about her campaign. Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Errol.
You were running on the Republican line, the Conservative line, and the Reform Party line.
I have all three.
You managed to do all of these without any messy primaries, so you're all teed up and ready to go. Why are you running?
I'm running because I think it is an opportunity to make a difference in New York. I mean, we have a Senator, Kirsten Gillibrand, who's been in office for 9.5 years. And during that time, she has not passed a single sponsored bill. And you can't be an effective senator if you can't get a bill passed. And we need somebody, I've got a business background, to actually get things done. We talk all the time about the fact that New York is a donor state. Nobody ever talks about exactly how much money we lose. We lost $40 billion in 2016, $48 billion in 2017, and I want to bring that money back to create good jobs and fund infrastructure projects we desperately need.
Tell us a little bit about your background. It includes banking and business, right?
Yes. So I was an engineer. I studied engineering at Stanford. That's why infrastructure is so close to my heart. I think we desperately need better roads, bridges, tunnels, clean water, and people say there isn't enough money. But I am married to a lawyer. I have 3 sons. We live here in New York City. And I think it's really important that we end the era of career politicians.
Well, tell me about what you would do upstate. This is one of these perennial issues that in any statewide race, I really try and find out people's ideas, because the ideas are few and the needs are many upstate.
Well, there are. I mean, 1 million people have left New York since the last census in 2010. That's outrageous. I keep traveling around the state and I meet with people and they talk about the fact that their kids no longer live nearby. That's because they had to move to Florida or Texas to get a job, which means now their grandkids don't live there. And they've said, well, why don't we just go ahead and move? But they can't move because they can't sell their house. We need to change that. And if we brought these monies back to do infrastructure jobs, and we're desperately in need of infrastructure throughout the state. We live in the richest country in the world, and frankly, we live in the richest state in that country. And it is outrageous that we have to live with infrastructure that is not up to par.
Let's talk a little bit about the politics of running as a Republican in New York State. It's been a tough time for the party in statewide races. The last one, I think, that was won was at least 12 years ago when George Pataki won the last of his 3 races. What would you say is the party's issue now that you have the President of the United States as a New York Republican?
Absolutely. But I think the real issue here is not running a Republican versus a Democrat. It's, are you running somebody who hasn't accomplished anything and is a career politician versus somebody who is, a known doer, business leader, and actually get something done? And I think that's the issue. Kirsten Gillibrand has moved so far to the left, I think, frankly, to run for president in 2020, that she has abandoned the middle of the party, which is where the bulk of New Yorkers live.
I know one issue that you've called her out on recently is the idea of abolishing ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. Without getting too deep into the weeds, we know that what used to be the old Immigration and Naturalization Agency has been split into 3. So ICE is really just dealing with enforcement within the borders. The Customs and Border Protection are a separate group. They're the ones who are intercepting people at the border. And then there's a whole citizenship agency that's separate. She's saying, I read this as, in part, a call to reorganize it. But what's wrong with saying, hey, this is all screwed up?
Well, I am saying this is all screwed up. I think it's crazy that she wants to eliminate ICE. ICE is the group that deported 796 members of MS-13. As we know here in New York, MS-13 is this horrible gang that has a large operation in Long Island that literally hacks kids to death. They use knives and machetes to kill teenagers. There was a 15-year-old who was just killed in Roosevelt, 2 girls, 15 and 16. It's outrageous. ICE was able to round up 796 of them last year and send them home. That's a good thing. We cannot stop that.
I mean, in those cases, I don't know about the particular cases, but I would imagine that the first line of defense, of course, is going to be the cops in Suffolk and Nassau County, right?
They need help. They're the ones who are saying that actually this is very helpful. I mean, so what does ICE do? They're responsible for working with these transnational gangs. The local police, your father was a policeman, need additional resources, help, and people who have the intelligence. That's ICE's job.
Okay. What other issues would you like voters to know that you're going to take a different approach if elected compared to Kirsten Gillibrand?
Well, there's one other big one, which is Israel. I mean, she has moved wildly to the left to appeal to these national liberal activists and coalitions. I mean, it's incredible. She voted for the Iran nuclear deal. She voted against the Taylor Force Act, which prevents our tax dollars from going to the families of terrorists, which only inspires more terrorism. We can't allow that. She took her name off the anti-BDS legislation. None of that is good, and I don't think represents the views of the average New Yorker.
Okay, so you have quite a road ahead of you. We are going to see if we can get kind of a debate between you and Kirsten Gillibrand. I hope you'll take us up on the offer.
I'm accepting right now.
Okay, good.
Wonderful.
Good. And we'll work on that for the future. Enjoy your 4th of July. Enjoy. We'll see you out on the campaign trail. We're going to take a short break here. Straight ahead, are we in a new political world here in New York where the old rules no longer apply? I'm going to get some thoughts from the NY1 wise guys and a wise gal. Stay with us.